call this meeting to order. Please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
Mrs. Press, here. Mrs. Albert, here. Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Ketchel.
Here.
Mr. Redwood.
Here.
And Mrs. Sincere, here.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. This is our work set or our voting meeting for the month of August. The things seem to go a little bit fast. They probably will. We discussed most of this at last Wednesday night's work session. So tonight will be a matter of voting, although there are a few things on here that we will have to discuss. Recognition of meetings, 6 to 6:40, executive session for personnel. This was on July 10th, 2024. And from 7 to 7:20, combined work session and board meeting. On August 7th, from 6:30 to 6:50 was executive session for personnel. 7 to 7:46 was work session. Any presentations tonight? Any reports from standing committees of the board? Administrator supervisory reports?
Not yet, not an admin report, just a clarification. There's been some questions relative to the cafeteria. So I want to take this opportunity to clear things up. What we're trying to do is minimize what we have to collect. We got into a situation last year where we had several students with varying amounts of deficits, some well over $50. So first, the law does not forbid us, nor would we want to take food from a child's mouth. So everyone's going to get one. You're going to owe for it, but everyone's going to get one. Where some of these additional charges were coming into play was not enough money or no money on the account. But we're not talking about those who qualify for free and reduced. But you get one, and then they were maybe getting a double lunch, or they were getting something a la carte, or they were getting something else. Those things we do not have to. Now, earlier we were going to do $5, but looking at what we need to raise these prices, that will only be a couple days worth. So we are going to move it to 10, and there is a letter going out, but relative from the cafeteria, it's prepared. It'll be going out via their emails on how this will work. But I just want to be clear that everybody eats, okay? We are trying to get ahead of these deficits quicker rather than later. I would rather talk to a family about a $20 deficit than a $50 deficit. And as far as the maximum goes, that's the maximum at the register before a manual override, okay? So at the register, they can run up to a $10 deficit before there needs to be a manual override. And then we can bring it to the attention of the administration. Because to be honest with you, a lot of the conversations go something like this. Hello, Mom and Dad. Your child's account is in deficit by $50. And even though they can check it online or whatnot, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. What do you mean? I give them money. Correct. Okay. So whether some kids maybe don't deposit all the money, maybe they're using it as snack machines or other things. So just to be clear, everybody eats. No one's going to lose a meal. It's going to be $10, not $5. But the purpose of this is to get ahead of the deficits quicker, because then our only recourse is if it gets big enough, is now we have to go to the magistrate. And there were a few incidents last year we didn't have to go that far, but we told them, like, look, unless you settle this account, then it needs to go to the magistrate. Again, we're not talking about those who qualify for free lunch. We're not talking about those who qualify for reduced lunch. We're talking about just arbitrary charges. I know some of you have got some current concerns, and there was some Facebook conversation. Is there any question you can think of that has not been answered?
Do they get a sandwich or anything if they don't?
They get the regular
They
hot
just get
lunch.
the lunch.
They don't get a brown bag. They just get one. Yeah. They
No,
give,
or just-
everyone gets one.
Everybody gets one lunch.
So I'll never have, like, if I'm working the lunch line, I'll never have to tell somebody that they can't eat.
Oh, never.
Because that's what we were all understanding yesterday at the meeting. We were told that we won't be able to override and they won't be able to walk away with the food, and if we let them, we could get in trouble.
All right, so let's recognize the following. First of all, we know everyone's gonna eat, right?
Okay,
We're gonna do the $10 not $5, that should help you out. And then the third thing is, that's my understanding of Romero Edge, is it would have to be administratively overridden, which would then have to be Carrie, and I know she's very busy. Again, it's not board policy that it's $10, right? So let's say it's January, we're halfway through the year. Well, we might wanna move that up to 20 because it's halfway through the year. You see what I'm saying?
okay,
All right, so,
okay.
yeah, so no, and we would never expect you to be in that.
I was just, I didn't want to tell some child that they couldn't eat.
Now-
That was my biggest concern, because the whole time I'm like, oh, but this sounds like a good job. But then they told me that, and I was like, can't do that.
And let's say that, communication was imprecise on my part to Mrs. Barnett. We'll follow up with that.
She said that she was gonna talk, there's some retreat Friday, and she was gonna bring it up to Mr.
It's
Rich again.
tomorrow.
So I just wanted to
Yeah.
show my support for her too, because I felt bad if she was the only one
I
saying
think
anything.
she's great, and
She's wonderful. She's wonderful. She wasn't a problem or anything. She was, all the lunch ladies were asking her
Yeah.
questions, because maybe something was miscommunicated, and I apologize, because I was just upset.
well, you're allowed to be upset, okay? You're allowed to care, and you should care. And not for nothing, we have, from time to time awarded, cafeteria ladies Pride Promise because of the way you care and the service that you get. And this is a healthy conversation. Like, look, there's a miscommunication out there. I think, Phil, you know, we got to get ahead of the PR, right? So there's a miscommunication out there. I, as the superintendent, have to ultimately be responsible for that. So let's make this the first step in a correction.
Thank
Anything else? Be no information reports. Item 5, comments, questions from the floor relative to agenda items.
I would just say, if you guys have had your problem or question resolved, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Good catch, Lance. You're welcome, but you don't have to.
Thank you.
I just see the pain in people's eyes.
Okay, item 6, approve the minutes from the July 10th, 2024 combined work session. So moved. Motion by Mr. Nemo, second by Mr. Ketchel. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes, any abstentions? Motion, all in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Ketchel, will you please do the treasurer's report on investment and business? Sure.
Sorry.
One more page.
Sorry. Oh, geez. All right, thank you. Might I put this in the form of a motion? Or is that put this in the form? His recommendation is superintendent to the board to approve the treasurer's report as of July 31st, 2024 is outlined below. Balance of $982,000, $613,881. Receipts during July 2024, $1,767,841.62. Expenditures of $2,122,434.52, and a balance of $628,020.91.
Make a motion.
Second. Approve the treasurer's report.
Wait,
Sorry.
I'm still thinking about, okay, so the motion was by Mrs. Breast.
Yes.
And the second was by Mr. Nero. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes, any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
It's a recommendation of the superintendent to the board to approve the attached investment report for July 2024. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ketchel, second by Mr. Nemo. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Is a recommendation of the superintendent to the board approve general fund bill listing for August 14, 2024, the amount of $1,335,546.98 and checks written manually in the month of July 2024, in the amount of $1,220,497.96 for a total of $2,556,044.94.
So moved.
Second.
Did he put that in the form of action? I apologize, second.
Sorry. Motion by Mr. Ketchel, second by Mr. Nimmo. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
I'd like to place this in the form of a motion is the recommendation of the superintendent to the board to approve the food service fund bill listing for August 2024, in the amount of $350.
Motion by Mr. Ketchel, second by Mrs. Brest. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? And I'm not sure, Phil, I don't, which one of you was chairman of that committee?
Oh, wait, yeah, it's Jeff, is the chairman.
Oh, okay, I thought, never mind.
I'm on that committee, but he is the chair.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had the right person.
Yeah.
You did a great job, so. Item 9, personnel, Mrs. Sunseri.
Is the recommendation of the superintendent of the board to, letter A, retirements, resignations. B, technology tutor. C, part-time middle high school custodian. And D, musical director. Put that in the form of a motion.
Mrs. Sinceri, could I ask that we cut out number 4 on A, the resignation of Mr. Duddy?
Okay. Yep. All right, so recommendation to the board, on B, C, and D. Put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Sunseri, second by Mr. Nimmo. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Gonna do letter E, just, co-assistant athletic director. His recommendation is superintendent of the board, approve the appointment of Cynthia Nicholas and Cameron Nicholson as co-assistant athletic directors for the 24-25 school year at a rate of $5,600 each. Put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Mrs. Sunseri, second by Mrs. Aldridge. Any discussion? I do still have some concerns about this, but at this late date, I'm not gonna push it, but I'm still concerned that one person is doing all the after hours work. The other one is doing during the day, so I'm not sure how that would be split, how the pay works out that way. If I was the second person doing all the extra hour stuff, I wouldn't do it, but it's evidently their decision.
Out of beyond football games.
Did I put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, you did. I have a second by Mrs. Aldridge. All in favor?
All right, is the recommendation of the superintendent of the board, letter F, bus van drivers, G, substitute bus van driver, H, elementary instructional special education paraprofessional, and I, elementary personal care instructional aid. Put that in the form of a motion. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Sunseri, second by Mrs. West. Any discussion on the motions? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Letter J,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah,
I assume when we get to K.
Yeah.
We have a motion to table.
letter J, voluntary demolition for NC Novel. Put that in the form of motion.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Senseri, second by Mr. Nemo. Do you want to give a quick explanation on that? So I
Yes, sir.
understand exactly.
Yes, sir. So, Missy's done a great job in our elementary. I'm sure Dan and Nicole can attest to that, and anybody who's had an elementary job down there. And she wants to stay involved with Laurel Elementary. She's a Laurel mom. She's also a nurse, and quite frankly, clinic that she worked at prior to here, she worked at during the summer, and it's a financial issue. She still wants to stay here. She wants to stay involved, and she can make considerably more money if she works there during the summer. But in order to maintain that position, she needs to hold half.
And we're confident, the only reservation I think anybody has is that we'll be guaranteed every day we'll have an elementary nurse, whether it's her or somebody else.
Right, because the part two of this then would be to hire the other half. So the way that it's worked, last year, we also had a sub. So whether it's screenings or other things, a lot of times we have 3 nurses on campus. So we're gonna take our sub, make her the other half of that, pending obviously your approval. But so it will say next month, the name of who was the sub, and she's gonna do the 7.5 hours, the 22.5 hours a week in the end.
Worst case, flu happens, life happens. Worst case, our current nurse is at her job that day and our sub is ill. Does Kelly Services or anybody offer, do we have any contingency plan?
So we
Not
do-
that this couldn't happen in the
No.
first place, you know what I mean? I'm just,
We have in the past posted and advertised periodically for school nurse subs. The only people we get quite frankly, are
Okay,
those
that's what
who
you- yeah, okay.
want to be here because
Perfect.
it's a financial issue. They coming here, what they make here in a day, they can make in 3 hours.
Right.
So but yes, we do have 3 of our own subs.
Yeah, thanks.
The person that's doing the other half, are they paid through the agency or?
No, so they will be the other half of this position. So they're no longer going to be a sub, but being that she has some experience, the wage is going to be a little bit different for the starter as compared to someone who's been there for a little bit, but all the other working conditions, the hours per day, the hours per year will be the same.
Essentially, we have 2 part-timers. They manage their schedule or who.
We're gonna have 6 days of coverages in a 5-day week. Because there's gonna be a day of overlap, not only for communication, but again, if you know all the other duties that run into school nursing with health compliance, screenings and all those other things, it wasn't uncommon to have Missy here last year, to have the CSN here last year, and have this sub. So basically, all we're doing is taking that relationship and restructuring.
Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Senseri, second by Mr. Nemo. Any other discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, I got the elementary admin right there. Anything else to add?
No, I mean, so what it's gonna be is that third person will be the sub that will be called first, but we do have other subs. But, both of this part-time person and the one who is planning on taking it over, both worked pretty much back and forth throughout the school year last year, so.
Now, when it comes to IEPs, who handles
The
that?
CSN.
Okay.
So you have a verbal agreement, I'm assuming. So you have verbal,
I met with them.
you met with them. They.
Actually, the CSN and the 2 of them had a plan and came to me. This is all of their origin.
So the one that's taking the debut motion, she's the CSN, so we need, so she will be.
No. So our CSN is at the high school,
Okay,
okay, and both of these are RNs.
okay.
So as an RN, they can assess,
Yeah.
okay?
And they're gonna create a schedule and share it with the admin, so we'll know who's where.
That's fine, so just make sure the scheduling, yeah.
Okay, any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Letter K, superintendent evaluation, motion to table.
So moved. Motion by Mrs. Senseri, second by Mr. Nemo. Any discussion on the motion? I'll take part of the blame. I don't have it done yet, but not all the blame, because I still have 3 people that haven't turned them in yet, so.
I felt your eyes.
We do. Oh, the third one's not here, so I couldn't. But we will try and get that done for next year, or next month. Because we are
So, and again, if any of those three need any assistance, I'm available.
Any negative votes, any abstentions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Letter L, addition to the volunteer non-instructional substitute listing for the 24-25. M, professional development workshops and seminars. I put those in the form of the motion.
Motion by Ms. Ansari, second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes, any abstentions? Motion's carried. Item 10, board action items, committee of the whole.
This is, I know that we skipped over the one topic with regard to the softball coach.
We do a motion to table that, because it was on the agenda, we need to act.
Well, I was gonna, in the art of transparency, you know, I had some calls and so forth on the, you know, on the softball, and it just, I would either table it, or personally, I would have voted against it. See what happens. It does give us another month. The varsity season isn't until the spring. You know, that was my thoughts. So, you know, the rest of the board can do whatever they want, but I did want either the opportunity to motion to table or individually vote against
Hey,
resignation.
we can take, I'm sorry. We can take action next month. It's on the agenda. We can bring it off table. My recommendation, thank you, Mr. Mangino. My recommendation, I believe it's A4. And as personnel, would you mind making a motion to table A4?
Yes. Let's make a motion to table A, retirements and resignations. 4, for Frank Duddy, head coach, girls softball.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ansari, second by Mr. Nimmo. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes, any abstentions? Motion carries.
And I guess we would vote for one through, or did we already
We
vote?
already did that.
Okay.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did everything except that.
Okay, I knew we took it out, but I wasn't sure. If
Yeah,
was
there is a
second.
motion, there is a second, there goes on all the other items.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that clarification. Back to Paul.
Okay, policy first reading, this would be policy 103 and 104. This is the one pertaining to our girls' safety and privacy.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ansari, second by Mr. Nimmo. Any discussion on the motion?
Should we roll call this?
What was the motion to do?
So have a vote.
So no, the motion says, right, so let's digest and want everybody to know exactly what it says. Okay? It shouldn't say the recommendation of the superintendent. It should say it's the because the language I gave you is the recommendation of PSBA. Okay, so let's be clear on the motion. I'm gonna give a little background. So we subscribe to the Policy News Network. That's a service from PSBA. We've gotten policies before, they try to keep us current. Okay. I've explained last week why I'm against these. I also shared council's opinion, as he should. It's the recommendation of PSBA to the board, absent any consent on all agenda items under the committee of the whole. If you vote yes, you're saying yes to the changes that align with the PSBA recommendation. If you vote no, the policy we have now stays. So you clear on what you're voting for on 103 and 104. So PSBA recommendation to amend our policies to be in alignment with the Title IX that went into effect August 1st.
So no vote retains the
Current
legacy
policy.
private, I'm sorry, legacy Title IX. Okay.
No. Mrs. Bratz? No. Mrs. Eldridge? No. Mr. Hill?
No.
Mr. Ketchel?
No.
Mr. Nemo?
No.
Mr. Redwood?
No.
Mrs. Sincere? No. Motion fails.
Tally?
7.
Okay, item B is the following, policies, the first reading. It would be 103.1, 234, 247, 249, 252, 317.1, 33.6, 807, and 824.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nimmo, second by Mrs. Rest. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item C is the a la carte lunches. Item D, bid acceptance for repository property purchase. E is Beaver Valley IU agreement for special education services. Item F is the bridge handbook. Item G, middle high school faculty handbook. Item H, elementary faculty handbook. Item I, student activities handbook. Item J, coaches handbook. K, student athlete handbook. And item L, the creation addition of Club Hope and bylaws.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nemo, second by Mrs. Eldridge. Any discussion on any of the motions? Any negative votes? Abstentions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Item N is the adult breakfast price revision. Item N is standing position protocol. Item O is bus routes.
Move that motion.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Sinceri, second by Mr. Nimmo. Any discussion on any of the motions? Any negative votes? Abstentions? Motion, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Ms. Conley,
No.
Item 11, new business.
Mr. Redford, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to reinstate the Laurel Halloween Parade at the Laurel Elementary effective for the 2025-2026 school year at a date and time the administration's discretion. Do I put that in form of a motion, or do I go for a second? I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nimmo, second by Mrs. Rest. Eldridge. Mrs. Rest. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That wasn't on the original agenda, correct? We can only add it to business if it's an emergency, correct?
Well, I mean, I'd have to look specifically at the Robert Rules of Order, but my understanding is,
We gotta take a vote, recognize that, put it on the agenda, then take another vote on the item. It's my understanding.
I would say,
Because work sessions and voting meetings used to be all one day. So we can have our discussion, our work session discussion on it right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not a matter of discussion, it's a matter of, we have to have the agenda posted 24 hours ahead of time. If you alter the agenda, it's my understanding, because it's been done, I've been involved in it a couple times,
Right.
that at the beginning, the first motion, let's say what you just did, would be that the board recognizes that there's an emergency situation that justifies that it wasn't advertised and now it's put on the agenda.
Yeah, there is a provision that does provide for emergency motions.
So does this get this on the agenda for next month?
I thought we made motions before that weren't
Yeah,
typed out, and we voted on them.
I mean, I guess, my position would be, you have a motion that has the unanimous support of the board.
Yes.
So it's not as though a board member is going to suggest, I didn't have an opportunity to thoroughly vet this motion. Of course, you don't have the full 9 members here, but you have a quorum. So, I mean, I don't think necessarily that you'd have to do anything more. If there was a no vote or there was some suggestion that,
Conflict of
I've
interest.
been blindsided by this, I didn't have an opportunity to review it, I don't know anything about it. But here you have unanimous vote, so, I mean, I don't really see any problem under these circumstances.
For the future,
Mhm.
because I can only anticipate that this will not be the last emergency. For the future, would you mind having research and a protocol, please?
Yeah, and I think, and I'll look back at my office, I think I have addressed this issue and addressed it maybe in a memo because it was an issue of an emergency. But yeah, I definitely will look at it, and if there's any problem, obviously, we could address this next month. But my position is, with the unanimous consent of the board, I don't see it as an issue. But I'll look into it.
Thank you.
So this is in reference to Coleman v. Parkland. Emergency business to respond to a clear and present danger to life or property. Pardon my Latin. De minimis business arriving in the last 24 hours that does not involve the expenditure of funds or entering into a contract. De minimis business raised during the meeting by a resident or taxpayer that doesn't involve expenditure of funds or entering into a contract. The school board, by majority vote, adds something to the published agenda for official action at the beginning of the meeting. So, notwithstanding, I do believe that if not now, in the future, we need to have emergency items at the beginning, have a discussion on the emergency, have the board approve the emergency. And then at the end of the meeting, have the emergency item, in this case, the Halloween party, added to the agenda.
Yeah, the Halloween party.
Parade.
Parade. Will that involve school expenditure?
So there's nothing in the budget, I'm not anticipating it. I mean, is that, so prior to the
So I would
Halloween,
suggest-
it was called the fall, is there any expenses in this, Dan, the fall, whatever?
The Halloween, the fall party,
Yeah,
Halloween parade, we haven't had a parade since I've been down there, so.
it's replacing the fall party, so are there any expenditures related to the fall party that will be used?
Parties are all funded by PTO.
So no school district funds via PTO.
Yeah, because I would suggest that this might even be a de minimis matter, a de minimis matter is a small, insignificant matter. This, you're not voting on an expenditure, you're not voting on anything.
We're not redoing an
The
HVAC
curriculum
program
or anything like that, so it probably, and again, I'll look at this so we know for future reference, but if this can probably be considered a de minimis vote on a de
So please let the minutes reflect that the emergency new business vote is justified as being de minimis and that it will not involve the expenditures of funds or entering into a contract.
Is there a chance the PTO doesn't agree with this and doesn't fund
I mean, they're here to support the school, so I don't see how they.
So that'd be a way to be an unpopular parent real quick with your kids. I will say that I've had folks reach out that are involved with the PTO that are more than on board. So I don't have any pause. I can look you right in your eyes and say that the chances of the PTO saying, boy, we're not so sure about this are approaching zero.
And this isn't this Halloween.
No.
This is a Halloween away. So, there's lots of time.
Yeah, no, I was saying, no, I said 2025.
Yeah, I didn't know if everybody was paying attention.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure.
it? We'll have further discussion.
You've got about 14 months to deliberate on the Halloween parade.
I would anticipate every parent coming into this fire and brimstone September saying, don't you bastards
Let's
dare.
not minimize this meeting. We've solved the $5 lunch charge, and we have addressed the crisis that is the Halloween parade all in one night. I mean, it's time to celebrate.
With an adjournment.
And we have executive session.
We're gonna have a brief executive session for personnel, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Lake to stay after adjournment.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Mrs. Sinceri. Second by Mrs. Holdridge. Any discussion on the motion? Any negative votes? All in favor?